Well, hello and good day to you. This is Kimberly with Wake Up KC with KC. And today I want to talk about, what's it actually like to have a spiritual awakening, going through the transition and transformation. What is it all about and how do you even recognize it? So today I have a special guest. Her name is June I. Bennett, who is a spiritual intuitive coach as well as an awakening coach. So I'd like to welcome her to our show to talk about this.
Hello.
Hello, June.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Great to see you, and thank you so much for having me.
Well,
I'm
it's an
nervous.
honor and a pleasure.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. That's all you got to do.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm not good
June,
with live things, so yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
June, give us
Yeah.
a little background about yourself.
Well, my background is a bit interesting. Well, I have my formal background is art education. So not that I educated about art, but I went to an art school. So my background is I was a fine artist, full-time artist, who ended up working in fashion. I don't know how that happened, but I ended up working in as a fashion editor for a brief period of time in New York City. You guys probably know the magazines that the publisher Hachette Filipaki made. Like Elle is one of the most famous, I guess. So I worked with people side to side. I was working as a fashion editor for a teen version of Elle called Elle Girl, which was folded after several years, I guess. It went through the 9/11 and all that craziness, and everything changed after that. But anyway, so art, fashion, always. And I don't know how, I guess we're going to be discussing how this transition happened, but now I work as a healer, and I also guide people through their awakening and we can say the ascension process that we're all going through. And so that's it. I am artist who turned into a person who does this and talk to people. Yep. Yeah.
So when did you have that self-realization and what was it like for you?
So I know that things were happening gradually. But of course, being an unawakened, asleep person, during that time I was working in New York City. I was very much of 3D, which we're going to discuss the 3D and such later. But I was very much of a in that 3D density, following success and fame and you know, and recognition and all other external pleasure and you know, the approval from the outside world. Um, and So I didn't know until my biggest jarring awakening didn't happen until 2000, the end of 2017, 2018. So it seems very quite recent. Although now, I look back, it seems like an eons ago to me, since time is relative. Everything is happening right now. But anyway, so it was literally almost overnight. I was going through physical and mental, psychological ups and downs. Like, a lot of people go through depressions and such. And of all that pain that I was going through, I think it somehow cracked open the membrane of, my threshold. And suddenly I decided that instead of staying in the pain and wallowing and ruminating for, what could have happened, and sorry, my things are showing up. I decided to get better. And that's when everything changed. And to be honest, really, when I had the realization and started seeking for help, I didn't want to seek help because I knew that was going to reveal all the truth about myself. And I think that's why a lot of people are avoiding their own awakening, because they're afraid to see the darkness inside themselves. But anyway, so I went through that. So I seeked for a medical intuitive instead of going to a psychiatrist, which I was seeing before, prior to that too. But instead of seeing psychiatrists and such, I seek for medical intuitive who was a medium. And she is the one who ended up opening up the reasons for my physical and mental upheavals and all the issues that I was having. And that was it. That when that process started happening, and going through the, my own dark night of the soul, is when I was being downloaded with a lot of information, and that led to a lot of curiosity, and it just became like this cycle of being overwhelmed with information, and then processing the information and finding out more and doing my own research. And so that I guess that's what a lot of people call it, the rabbit hole, right? Once you get into the rabbit hole. So then I realized that through my search for getting better for my own physical pain and health, I ended up connecting all the dots, and I realized that everything is connected to everything. And the way that the society works is to compartmentalize everything, including science and medical, world and all that stuff. The intellectual world, everything is compartmentalized, that no one sees the connection from one paradigm to another. And I realized that without connecting them all, we cannot see the bigger picture. And if we cannot see the bigger picture, we cannot heal. It's difficult to heal. I wouldn't say we can't, but it takes longer. And so anyway, so that's what it was like for me. It was literally like I woke up one day And meanwhile I was getting hit by spiritual 2x4s, and I was getting beat up literally anyway, in my own world. So that's what woke me up. And I can talk about more like woo-woo things that happened to me, but like losing consciousness, like a lot of people go through, before their awakenings, how they have near-death experiences and stuff. I didn't have that sort of dramatic experience, but to me, it was longer duration of dramatic sequences that I went through with depression and physical disabilities and things like that. So I'm sorry if I don't know if I answered. Yeah.
No, you did. That's
yeah?
very
Okay,
impressive.
good.
And
Good.
wouldn't you agree that it's like, because we already have these energetic emotional traumas, limited beliefs, mental programmings, and then when you start the process of awakening, it's like tearing layers like an onion of all that
Absolutely,
garbage to
yeah.
break free. And then
Yes.
it's like getting the old out to welcome the new, to align your soul
Yeah.
to the mission and purpose, to remember why you came here. And it
Right.
doesn't happen like all overnight, like I say on my podcast, like a McDonald's drive-through, like bam, here you go.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think, nothing, I mean, I said, it happened overnight, but, how I said, I was going through, all the process. So everything does happen gradually. But, yes, it is like peeling of layers. I guess that's another expression of, going through the rabbit hole, from one rabbit hole to the next. But because once you peel off the notion of, let's say, how I found is the connection to your soul, or a connection through your vibrational frequencies, connection to your, speaking of frequencies, your aura, and how that ethereal world connects to your past and future. Everything is connected. All that stuff kind of starts to come together. That's what I meant by, how we've been programmed to learn things separately, but it really is like an onion with different layers. An onion it has to be a whole, right? To comprise, to create an onion, right? But also the one piece that you peel, that is an onion as well. So the holographic aspect of reality became really clear when I realized that all my physical pains, like in conventional ways, if you have, excuse me, if you have a neck pain, you go see your doctor, and then doctor gives you painkiller and then whatever, right? He tells you, oh yeah, you have a strain in your muscle, right? But you don't realize that is actually a symbolic information that you're actually receiving from the higher realm, higher self, or whatever you call it, saying that you have been stubborn and you haven't been looking freely, and you actually have forced yourself to look in certain ways, that it ended up giving you that pain in your neck. And that's because, right, suddenly you get this understanding of why you have this neck pain is not only because, I don't know, you've been on the computer, I don't know, for many hours, or, but that came from the notion that the way you are seeing and experiencing, or not seeing or not experiencing truth within your reality. I know I'm being really
No, you
cryptic
know,
and vague, but
no. That's
yeah.
interesting. That's an interesting perspective on how to look at certain things of paying attention to your
Yeah.
body.
So when the hardest, not hardest, but most important area, once you have, once you go through an awakening, I think for me, something that had the most amount of weight was to understand the connection between your physical body and the spiritual world. And it's a communication that is constantly happening and going through at all times. And once I understood that, and I learned this, I started learning this from the medical intuitive, and that's how I got into it and ended up studying, on my own. And got, I became certified as nutritional based health teacher and such. But once you understand the spiritual, ethereal realm, your mental realm, and your physicality, your physical, biological reality, instead of separating them, then it's a game changer. And that's how I started. That's how I began my teachings with people, not to exclude, because a lot of the times when people go through spiritual awakening, they ignore the physical existence, and they end up only focusing on the higher realm, and they think that is the way out of their physical agony and all the problems that they're going through on this planet. But my findings and my teachings is that that is not the answer. We all have to, we need to be physically together with your physical vehicle in order for you to anchor with this planet and with this reality in order for you to ascend into the higher place. So the highway doesn't start here. Highway starts from the core of yourself, which is the core of the planet and all of that. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you explain
Yeah.
what an intuitive spiritual guide and what an awakening coach is, and how they serve to help others?
Yeah. Yes. So being an intuitive coach to me is about being, you have to be comfortable to be in between. That's why my handle for Instagram is called InBetweenness 1111. So, and even when I was an artist, I was a video artist for a period of time, and the title of every single video I made, all of them was collectively called In Between. So, and now I know why. I didn't know that then. Now I know why. So, to be an intuitive person who is available and somehow capable of helping others is a person who is comfortable to be in that in between, which someone like Cliff High, which I highly recommend that you guys check him out. He's really amazing linguist, computer scientist. Anyway, and how he explains it is the woo. It's the woo, WOO. He makes, he has a whole video tutorials explaining the woo. But it is the woo, which is so we have here, right, the physical compartmentalized box, reality we see, but then the rest of it is the woo. So being an intuitive person is to be comfortable with the woo and comfortable being in between themselves, so that when they receive the information pertaining the person that is coming to ask that question, you immediately have a knowing without any interference, and you can communicate that information to that person in order for them to get the benefit out of it. And when you trust that, usually the message that gets through is the message that they needed and they were seeking for. So that's what it is. And you're not the information creator, but you are a conductor, you are a receiver, you are a vehicle, and you are the witness. And well, you can say, you're co-creating, but you are the vessel to receive the information in order for you to share with the ones with the questions. And I think, if it's the right person, then you are able to teach them to learn how to be in that state of in between, to be comfortable in the woo. And I think that's what the coaching part, that's where the coaching part comes in. You can teach people to be in that state of receiving and to be able to be comfortable in the woo.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
So to put my 2 cents in as well, when it comes to intuitives or psychic mediums, they're only supposed to serve as a purpose to help along the journey, but not like keep them and try to continually to work with them. You're supposed to work with them just for a period of time or a season and then let them go so they could go on their path. And I feel like some of these intuitives just, they just want to keep you coming back, in order for them to make their means kind of thing. And I think that's very disheartening. Do you agree?
Well, I think, there are people who are conducting or who have started conducting this the kind of teaching, they so-called, spiritual coaching and teaching and such. I like to think that they all, started with a, good intention and good. But when people are, well, first of all, I think there are people who start that in different levels, which I don't think there should be a rule of, oh, you need to get to this, dimensional or density level in order for you to teach people. I don't believe that. I think we're all actually teachers and we can all benefit from each other in certain, in circumstances and, places like that. But yes, I do agree that there are people who get lost in terms of their motive and also their purpose. And yeah, I guess when people, people want people to come back more, it's kind of like, I don't know, that's how businesses work, right? Like retail shops and things like that. People want you to, you know, spend and get more, and there's always more of something. But I do. So there's a fine line. There's definitely a fine line, but it's very in this, and I think it's a symptom of being stuck in the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, because we do, for now, we have been functioning in this monetary system, and how we are conducting our survival within this institutional grid, that we have to have, certain amount of money to do certain things and all that. And I think that once that becomes more of a focus, of those people, then they want to keep you regardless of what your spiritual needs are, right? And they can
Mm-hmm.
always exploit from their past tense, you know, um, tendencies and issues and things like that. And I think that's what the problem is. And this is why I don't, I struggled with the same, I think a lot of people who wake up to this like spiritual teaching stuff, they end up, you know, uh, having a hard time to juggle between making a living and then, having the, enough um, people that are interested in your service, and to work that out. Um, yeah,
So let me ask you something, because you mentioned
yeah,
about, the
yeah,
3D and the density and whatnot. So what
yeah.
is the transformation from three-dimensional to fifth dimensional about, and how does it affect us?
Um, so yeah, I was thinking. So going from 3D to 5D, a lot of people think that it's like, you know, boom, like some big bang happens, or like going through a wormhole or something like at one point, and then boom, you come out, and then you're like in a completely different world, and it's a better world. There's only love and, yeah, unity and beauty, and living with all the creatures and animals. Um, so it's obviously it's not like that. It's, becoming from 3D to 5D is more like having different camera angles. So you look at, or having different filters. Um, so 3D to 5D is, to me, is more like you are able to look at something from, when you were able to only look at something from like one very restricted angle, that's your 3D, to having a wider lens and being able to see the much bigger picture. So the context of your experience is completely different. So you have more information in order for you to gather, and you can have a understanding, more compassionate understanding for what is going on in this reality. And it affects us because of that. It affects us because it changes the way you perceive, so-called reality, and therefore it changes your experiences, in which, where you are. So that's why it affects us. And it's a ripple effect after that. And so 3D to 5D are not separate. Again, it's people like to compartmentalize it, but it is not separate like you think. 3D and 5D is all, because it's holographic and it's all inclusive. So 3D and 5D, you're living in all at the same time. It's just that your camera angle changes, and because of, and also you open up, when you open up into the wide lens, you open up your portal of understanding much bigger. So you are much more open to getting more information all at once, which takes abilities, and and it does.
Sorry. I thought my phone was on vibrate.
So, oh, did I put mine on vibrate? I did. Okay. So that to me is 5D, and it changes everything because of the way you experience and you see. Because of that, your responses change, right? And a lot of the time, spiritual teachings, teachers don't react, respond, right? That sort of thing. So it becomes from automated reaction, which was a very 3D compartmentalized programming that you have acquired through, over the year of your existence here. But when the 5D, when you make that shift of awakening, you become less and less automatic, and you start to actually stop and have this still enough moment to see that there is an inquiry, a question, and you have this inner unshakable desire to question, wait a minute, let me think about that, and it's something that you've always been doing automatically, but then suddenly you realize that doesn't seem right. I can't believe I've been doing that all along. And that moment is the moment you're stepping into 5D. Boom. So it's not like you happen and you're in 5D and then la 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 la, like bye bye forever, you're 5D. I think it's an everyday experience that you're actually having, and that is one of the things that I want to continue teaching other people, to know that it's our innate to be connected to the higher density, higher vibrational place like 5D.
Okay. And so, in other words, I mean, in simpler terms, we're in the three-dimensional, it just expanded to a whole outer level, like from a tiny lens to the panoramic view of a camera lens. It's wider. It just in order to see the bigger picture. Would you agree?
Yes. So yes. So basically, all there is here right now. At this moment, we're in it. But the only way we can see that is in order for us to be in the vibrational frequency of the things that are here in existence. So the more, it's kind of like, how TV used to be like really pixelated, right? And when you look from afar, you can see smoothly, and right, you don't see the pixels. So we're when you're in 3D, everything is pixelated, compartmentalized. You only see, you're like, well, it doesn't, things don't necessarily look like what it actually is. But that's what we believe in, and that's what we're living with every day. So when your vibration through your awakening process and making differences by reprogramming your reality and taking responsibilities for that, you end up becoming those higher vibrations of the existence of 5D, whatever, 4D, 5D, and the higher realities. So they're already here. They all exist. The only difference is you change. You change into the vibrational, vibrational frequency in order for you to see it and experience it.
All right. So, in
Yeah,
order for our world to change, what
yeah.
is it that we can do to make a better impact and a difference for future generations?
Um, Let me read. I wrote something down earlier, so hold on. Let me read it and see what I wrote. I forget what I write. Uh, have an understanding, but give yourself the permission to experience. Wait, to not only to. Maybe I'll just read it. Okay. Okay. So ask me the question again. Sorry. Can you ask me the question
Okay.
again?
In
Mm-hmm.
order for our world to change because of this, the going from 3D to 5D, we're all
Yeah.
energetic and we're connected
Yeah.
to our planet. So in order
Yeah.
for our world to change, what is it that we can do to make a better impact and a difference for our future generations?
Okay. So it's one of the things that I'm going to be working on to communicate with others and including you know younger generations. But so what I wrote is not only to have an understanding, um, but to give yourself the permission to experience that we are all connected and every interaction is a reflection of your inner world. And on top of that, you recognize the accountability um, without making it into an excuse to, stay a victim. Like it's my fault. I did this. That's not what I mean. It's more about ownership and accountability and responsibilities of your choices, because reality is a series of choices in every split moment, and that's what creates different parallel realities. And whatever happens, um, okay, and have compassionate compassion for the decisions, the choices that not only you make but others make. So here I'm going to elaborate on this. So in order for us to have an impact is to be self-sufficient of your own reality, obviously. I always use the airplane oxygen mask, right? In order for you to help others, first you need your own oxygen mask. So that's a good practical symbolism for your own practice to understand why things are the way they are in your own practice of connecting your spiritual world and the material reality. I think I'm becoming too vague and esoteric here, but so in order for us to make a change is not to. I'm not gonna just talk about like, oh, you need to have a YouTube show or you gotta have this and that. Yes, all these things need to come together in order for us to spread the word. But I do think that the core of it and what I want to happen is to change the way we educate. Education needs to change. which because what's happening now in those important years of children is not an education, it's an indoctrination. It's people are being people are literally being fed, spoon fed, the only things that they want them to know and learn. And if they don't learn any of those things, or then they are ridiculed, and they are taught that they're not good or as good, and they are not worthy, and they are not. So the school system only teaches children to see the world only in certain ways. So I want to change that, and I also want to responsibly create a world where just because we're adults, we're not the only teachers, but we all teach each other, and we all have the natural innate capability of knowing and understanding this world in our own ways, and every single person has a valid way of seeing and understanding the world, and it's okay. And it is okay, and we can all have compassion and understanding and be inclusive of all that stuff. And so one of the things that I do with my clients is to, when they bump into very upsetting environment or situation, like a conflict with someone. Let's say like you go to a grocery store and somebody, working at the register wasn't very nice to you, or, being somewhat rude or something, right? And that's your reaction, like, you're so rude, you're going to get this, right? I'm gonna, instead of having that sort of reaction, I always give give them the opportunity to see that and understand we don't know the background of that anger that's coming towards you. You don't know what the person was going through. Maybe she or he had a horrible morning with his partner, right? We don't know that. But when that comes to you, that is actually the momentarily you should understand that you signed up for this, because you were a person who was holding the light to transmute that anger that the person needed to address. So you are a co-creator of this healing process in that moment when somebody's mean to you. It has nothing to do with you or them in that moment. You just have to understand, I understand, and inside yourself, you can say, thank you. Thank you for seeing the light in me. And thank you. I understand that your subconscious recognizes me as the light that you needed. Thank you. And I love you. And you see that compassion in that moment. Suddenly, you're not angry at the person anymore. You're not angry at the situation anymore. And you're not the victim of the situation anymore. And neither that person, okay, is a victim, okay? We're both co-creators of this transmutation of this energy that needed to be worked out, right? And that's kind of like a ripple effect. So those little things that I teach, it's holographic. So it becomes bigger and bigger. The more you do stuff like that, the more you end up having the real connection with other human beings that we call them strangers. They're no longer strangers. You become closer and closer and as one. And I like to teach that with any person that I encounter, and I like to, to give that message and just as a suggestion, I'm not going to say, don't be mad at that person back. Be a bigger person and say, oh, I love you anyway, because it doesn't work that way either. You have to
Right.
you have to decide who you want to be, and that's the kind of effect you want to have. And the more you do stuff like that, there's a saying, I'm creating whatever happiness one smile at a time kind of thing. It's like, cliche thing to say, but not just that smile, right? And the hopeful effect of the smile, but to really have the core compassion for that situation. It's impersonal because it's not just about you. It's impersonal, but it is very much personable at the same time. And you become one with that angry person who you thought was just a bitchy person.
Well, that is
So
very
yeah,
impressive, June, and
yeah.
you
Oh,
explained it so in such an enlightenment way. And do you have anything like events or workshops coming up that people you could share with people? And how can they get in contact with you?
okay. So I have an Instagram account, which the handle is in betweenness 1111, but it's spelled. I think the proper spell of in betweenness has two N's in between, but I'm missing one N for a reason. So it's in betweenness 1111 on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of videos which I receive as an information, and I know when I feel the excitement to convey those messages, I know that's because there are people who are looking for it, and that's why I make those videos and I make videos using things that I'm reading, researching, and all the stuff that I am doing. I'm constantly reading. I'm reading like 6 books at a time at all times. This is what happens when you wake up. I'm reading like, right? And so that's one of them. And I continue to do energy healing, which is one of the things that happened to me during my awakening. In the beginning of my awakening, the best thing that I did was to get a remote energy healing with someone. I actually ended up getting like 9 sessions from that same person. And that it seems like nothing, because it seems like nothing is happening. And it's not just to work on your physical reality. Like I said, it's all interconnected, right? Your physical body and the spiritual world. So once you get the energy healing and you start to see the differences of your physical body, you start to have differences in other parts of your life, your reality as well. So that's what I do. I give, I'm a door opener of that switch, that change of reality, by giving personal remote healings. So that you can also find on my Instagram. And also I have many other things that I'm working on, but nothing that I can disclose at the moment. I'm working on things, like I said, my dream is to have a place for comfortable and safe place for children and adults, teens, adults, whoever, whenever they're ready to come and relearn, not relearn, but to unlearn, unlearn, not the little children, they have much less to unlearn, but especially for the older generations, to unlearn their program right? To unlearn, undo, untie their programs, and to reopen for new possibilities to create the best version of yourself as an individual, as a light worker, because every single one of us, here's another cliche, how we all matter. There's been the word going on, how it matter. We are all matters. Literally, we're all physical matters. Okay, there's no question about that, right? So each one of us walking around is functioning like every human is a walking pyramid. Okay, and if you know what the function of the pyramid is, it is creating a vortex to communicate with the planet and throughout other dimensions. So that's who you are. So so I forget what I was talking about, but so that is the kind of thing that I like to convey in the safe environment to teach. I like to, I suppose, manifest it as a school, some sort of school, but obviously not a conventional kind of school. So that's my future. But I'm going to be announcing all that stuff, I'm sure, on Instagram, or otherwise I will let everybody know. And I have a
Well, I would
website
love
as
to have
well.
you on my
Yeah,
show when you get that, situated, so we could talk more
absolutely.
about what you're,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
opening, what you're doing, what you created. So I look forward to that. And
yeah,
I thank you so much
yes.
for this time with you. And
Thank
I'm
you.
going to post your website and your Instagram
Okay,
information in the description so people
great,
can contact you. And
great.
thank you again for joining me. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day.
This is Wake Up with KC. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope this episode helped you. Join me every Monday and you can reach out and say hey at wakeupwithkc@gmail.com. Have an amazing week and talk to you next Monday for more amazing topics to share with you that you don't want to miss.